it is the day before the Conservative Party conference, and even before the famous faces arrive in Manchester, it's already making headlines.
Yes, because all eyes are on the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, after more than 30 Tory MPs signed a letter to him demanding tax cuts to help struggling families.
Well, this comes as the Institute for Fiscal Studies found the government will have overseen the largest set of tax rises since, and in fact the highest tax burden since the Second World War.
But the Chancellor has already admitted that he wants to stop the vicious circle of ever-rising taxes. But how likely, really, is he to cut taxes?
Let's talk to our economics and business editor, Liam Halligan, who's already poised in Manchester, raring to go. Morning to you, Liam. Look, I mean, all the messages we've been getting from government so far have been, well, we won't put taxes up, but neither will we bring them down.
The UK tax burden really has spiralled, in the eyes of many, Stephen and Anne, out of control in recent years. There was a study by the IFS, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, that came out just a couple of days ago, and it really is pretty eye-watering, and it's certainly causing a lot of ructions in the Conservative Party, even before most of the party faithful have turned up here in Manchester for the annual party conference. The conference starts tomorrow, but people will start mustering today. But let's just have a look at what the row is about. I know it's early, but gird your loins, brace yourself, because here's a graphic. Have a look at this graph. This shows the UK tax burden. That's the total tax cake as a share of GDP. And you'll see there after the Second World War on the left of the screen, it plummeted. But in recent years, it's climbed all the way back up. And since Boris Johnson won his majority in 2019, the tax burden in the UK has risen from 33% of GDP all the way to 37%. And that is the highest since the Second World War. And this is the concern. An awful lot of Conservatives, they say, we don't want more tax rises. Even the Lib Dems at their party conference last weekend, they ruled out their famous policy of putting a penny on income tax to pay for public services, because they said in a phrase guaranteed to wind up Tory activists that under the Conservatives, taxes are already too high, even for the Lib Dems. So this is the atmosphere within the Conservative Party as Rishi Sunak tries to muster his troops, the activists, the envelope stuffers, for this vital party conference here in Manchester, probably the last party conference the Tories will have before the next general election.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's going to play out in a very interesting manner because, as we said, it's more than 30 MPs are demanding tax cuts because they know that's what would get votes. But Jeremy Hunt seems very unlikely to do so. That's what the Institute of Fiscal Studies was saying yesterday. There's no way he's going to listen to that.
He hasn't got much fiscal wiggle room and much room for manoeuvre. You know, government borrowing in the 5 months to August was 40% higher than the same time last year. So the government really is pretty cash strapped. I don't think Jeremy Hunt is going to unveil any tax cuts here at the party conference in Manchester. He may start making the case for tax cuts, and we're seeing that in the papers this morning. He's been interviewed in the Times saying, as you say, we've got to stop this vicious circle of tax rises. But I don't think he's actually going to deliver tax cuts today. Another reason he won't is because, as the saying goes, politics is showbiz for ugly people. And he's going to want to make the tax cut when he does it as dramatic as possible. And he's going to want it to be as near to the general election as possible. He's got an autumn statement in November, but he's also got a budget in the spring. And it's far more likely, in my view, that we'll see those Tory tax cuts with the party opening up, as they will see it, clear blue water between them and Labour. We're much more likely to see those in the spring, nearer a general election.
Just a quick word then on the other parties, Liam, because if there's no wiggle room for Jeremy Hunt to cut taxes, presumably there's no room for anybody else to pledge to cut taxes if they got into power.
I think that's right. I think all parties are mindful that even though there's a cost of living crisis, even though tax played a big role in the squeeze that both businesses and households have felt in recent months, you know, the Institute for Fiscal Studies calculates that by next year, the average household will be paying £3,500 more in tax per year when you take income tax, VAT, fuel duty, and so on, than they were back in 2019. But there's a sense that the public wants lower taxes, but at the same time, all parties are mindful that if they're irresponsible with their tax pledges, if they're irresponsible with saying that they will spend more than the country can actually afford, then the public won't like that either. Look, this is really a balancing act, whether or not we can afford tax cuts before the next general election. When all things are considered, the Tories are more mindful to want tax cuts, not least because, as you say, 30 of their MPs now, including former Prime Minister Liz Truss, who will be here in Manchester making life difficult for Rishi Sunak, including former cabinet ministers like Jacob Rees-Mogg, former party chairman Brandon Lewis, former Minister Jake Berry, the Minister for the before he resigned. All of them have said publicly they will not vote for any more tax rises. So if Jeremy Hunt does try and introduce tax rises in his November statement or in spring budget next year, those Conservatives will not vote for that bill, and the government may not be able to get its budget bill through Parliament, and that would almost be a vote of no confidence for Rishi Sunak.
OK, Liam, thanks very much.
Oh,
indeed.
yeah, Liam, I want to ask you how you got to Manchester. I mean, you must have gone up to Manchester yesterday from London, yeah?
Yeah, I came up yesterday partly to beat the train strike, and partly because today I'm visiting the fabulous Manchester University with my son, Ned, who is thinking of coming here. So I'm here for one of those fabulous university open days at one of our great universities here in Manchester. And my son doesn't know yet, but after the open day, we're off to Old Trafford to watch United play Palace.
Oh, very good.
Ah, lovely.
We can guarantee he's not awake at this time of day. Lovely stuff, Liam. Thanks very much indeed.